The story about the Conan O'Brien Christmas party where the Reiners attended just before the tragedy keeps somehow getting worse, day after day after day. The latest? Apparently celebrities who were there, and we still don't know the full list, are shutting up. And that's because they're going silent ahead of, very likely, subpoenas and testimonies. Today we'll tell you what it means, and some of the biggest celebrities could soon be in a trial. Well, the celebrities are not talking anymore about the Christmas party with Conan O'Brien. That is where some of the bad stuff may have started when it comes to the tragedy featuring the Reiners. This out of The Independent. It says, Michael Douglas and Rob Reiner talked a lot about how to support their sons with issues. Now, the reason I bring this up to you, folks, which came out Monday, the 22nd of December, is because if you were not at the Christmas party and you're a celebrity and you knew what was going on, you're talking about it. But if you were at the Christmas party where we've been told, oh, no, nothing bad happened. No. If you were at the Christmas party, silence. And I'll show you that in just a second. We get to this. Inga Parkel has this. It says, Michael Douglas has revealed that he and the slain director talked about parenting their son struggling with addiction. Goes on to talk about it. Folks, you can go read it. Bottom line is this was something that was known. People knew this was a big time problem. And so when this guy showed up at the party, I just don't want anybody to think that it happened in a vacuum and people were like, oh, who's that? Oh, who's this guy acting strange? It was a known thing, okay? It was a known thing. Let's go to the breaking news that we've got right now. This is out of Showbiz 411. Exclusive. Sources say Nick Reiner's behavior at Conan O'Brien party story was so bad, guests now fear subpoenas in the case. So why are the celebrities shutting up? Why are they not saying anything? How do we still not know who was at this party where supposedly it was A-listers and everybody knew a million of them? There is everybody who knows everybody was at Conan's house. How is it we still don't know who was there? How do we still not know, how did this guy get there? Were they giving anything out? Did anything get into the system that might have caused, a bad reaction with medication? How do we not know anything? Because it's serious enough, they're shutting up and probably lawyering up. Here's the article by Roger Friedman. It says, last night's special about Rob and Michelle Reiner was so well produced and moving, it's a shame it had to air at all. All the people interviewed were emotional and sincere. Albert Brooks certainly found it the hardest, but he soldiered on as Rob's closest friend. Kathy Bates, Jerry O'Connell were in tears. And as we cover this, folks, I want you to remember that we take very seriously. We're dealing with a tragedy that is affecting a lot of people, and nobody wants a tragedy to happen. It's very sad. That's the nature of tragedy. And so we're handling this with as much care as we possibly can, understanding that this is going to have an impact on the entertainment industry going into the months ahead with this trial. Here's where we get into that situation. It says, sources say Nick's behavior at the Christmas party at Conan O'Brien's house hours before the act took place was not just about going up to guests and asking if they were famous, as we were told. That's been reported. Here's what this says out of Showbiz 411. I'm told, says the author, he was actually threatening them, or threatening to them. Quote, he was looking to pick fights, physically, the source reports. Nick's threats are what caused the reported fight between him and his father and prompted them to leave as soon as the Reiners could get him out of there. Now, says the source, many of the guests are fearing subpoenas from Nick's lawyer, Alan Jackson, not the singer, after the arraignment on January 7th. If there is a trial, which would seem doubtful, many of the stars who had run-ins with Nick, like SNL star Bill Hader, could possibly testify. Now, it says if there is a trial, which seems doubtful. I don't know why they say that.
That's bizarre. Of course there'll be a trial. It's a murder.
Right, and he's not, I would be shocked if he just says, oh yeah, I did it, and maximum penalty please. No, he didn't hire the lawyer that he hired. I don't even want to name the defendants that this attorney has represented because it gets us in trouble with YouTube. Some of the Me Too peeps. So I don't suspect that's going to happen. I do suspect that this probably does go to trial. And if there is a trial, I do suspect that these celebrities, including Bill Hader, Conan O'Brien, Jane Fonda, etc., at least to receive subpoenas and maybe to testify. And I think all these people who said, we were going to call the authorities, we wanted to get a psychiatric hold on him, but Conan said, I think they're probably going to have to testify too. And listen, people are sleepwalking on this. I don't think people are recognizing how ugly and unpleasant this could be. and I want to put this out there too. We're not accusing Conan O'Brien. We're not accusing anybody. What we're saying is that in terms of Hollywood and how messy this gets, it could get really messy really fast. Panel, your thoughts on this thus far, and then we've got a little bit more to talk about.
Well, it's a sad, awful thing.
Yes.
And to the degree that those people at that party can testify to his state of mind, if his lawyer brings it up, it's to try and somehow get an insanity defense or something like that. But what are they going to say? It wasn't within their power to suddenly have this guy locked up or committed or separated from his parents or anything else. So this all seems, well, it's Hollywood, so everybody gets a lawyer and everybody gets worried. But yeah, there'll be a trial, and yeah, some of them will get called, and yeah, they'll have to say what they saw.
Lou, it seems to me that the the prosecution would be the ones to probably call these celebrities, because so far what we've heard is very negative against him. So I don't know why his attorneys would want...
the prosecution, no. See, the prosecution is about, were you there? Did you hold the weapon? Did you do the deed? It's the other side that's going to be about, yeah, but why? And yeah, could it have been prevented?
Well, that's
some of these. So
that's a good point.
It would be the defense that would call them to try and establish his state of mind and try for some sort of insanity defense, or at least a mitigation of punishment to, I don't know, being locked up in the loony bin versus San Quentin,
Yeah.
But this idea that they all suddenly said, oh my God, we might have to get a lawyer. Surprise. That's life in the big city.
Well, and here's the other thing too. You brought up a great point, Lou. The question of like, where does the liability and where does the criminality lay in this? So no adults have to necessarily be cognizant enough and aware enough and have the expertise to say this guy needs a psychiatric hold, right? So I don't think anybody's going to be held accountable for that legally. But that said, the rumors that are out there, and you've got lots of articles now reporting this, that Conan O'Brien either refused or prevented
Who was the host
or stepped
of the
in.
party? It was at his place.
Right, prevented people from calling the police. Now, I don't know how you do that necessarily, but that's going to have to be looked into. And I don't know what legally happens there. If other people say, well, you need to get police over here, and the person says, no, don't. Maybe it's a civil.
Everybody's got an opinion, so what?
Right.
It's immaterial to any culpability. It's just material as to state of mind and, like I say, any mitigating factors regarding punishment. So this is a terrible, awful thing, and they're all reacting, yeah, but what about me? And that's what Hollywood people do.
Yeah, exactly. And let's not conflate the two different things that are going on simultaneously. You have criminal and civil. And is there either of those types of liabilities that people can lay at Conan's feet? And are there other people involved in who somebody would blame? I mean, there are remaining family members that are still with us that, could point fingers, at the missed opportunity to put him on a psychiatric hold, and 5150 him. But that's, again, you have two different issues here. And, aside from the criminal one, which is going to be decided in California in a court of law. So.
Well, let's take it out of the context of Hollywood and California. And let's just say you folks out there have a Christmas party and there's 20, 30 people there. And one of them goes crazy and is scary. And some people say, geez, he's a little scary, isn't he? Maybe we should do something. And other people say, well, yeah, but it's between them. It's their family, blah, 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 blah. Is there any liability for anybody involved in that? I don't think so. I don't think it's about finding somebody else to blame. It's about proving his mental state was wacko before it started, and therefore, again, going after some sort of variation on an insanity defense. But I'm not an attorney, so don't listen to me. But the idea that any of those people at that party, including Conan, have some sort of liability is a hell of a stretch.
So the rap is talking about this Josh Dickey, and it's behind a paywall. And we have a philosophy here, have an ethical standard. We don't read articles behind a paywall unless they're shared other places. But it says a thick fog has settled around reports of Conan O'Brien's December 13th holiday party. And the article, I'll just give you a brief summary of it. I've read it. Basically, We don't even know who was at the party anymore because everybody has shut up to a great extent. Now, here's the thing.
And wouldn't you, folks, if you were a guest at that party?
Well, absolutely, you should.
Whether you were famous or not. So,
But here's the thing, and this is what investigators are going to be looking into. And we're not going to speculate about it. We're just going to say this is a part of the process. What was happening at the party? Now, I'm not alleging anything. I'm just telling you the investigators are going to say what was at the party, what was happening at the party, who had what at the party, and did he take anything that might have interfered with his state of mind, especially if he already had neurodivergence and was taking medications. So that also could be an issue that we look into down the road. We'll see how that goes. As of right now, no info there. All right, here's the other part of this, though. As you all remember, the president had a very interesting way of responding. And I say interesting because a lot of people did not like it. Some people thought it was, I guess some people thought it was good. But from a utilitarian kind of standpoint, from the utility of what it achieved, I had my doubts about whether it was a wise thing for the Trumpster to put out. That said, Whoopi Goldberg said, well, in stronger words, but I'll say it this way: darn you all to Republicans staying quiet after the Orange Man criticized Rob Reiner. Quote, there's no way to justify it. Now, here's my question about this, okay? Because Whoopi and a bunch of the others came out and they were furious at the way that Trump responded. Trump didn't like the man alive, and his passing and the way it happened didn't change Trump's mind. And, it definitely didn't follow the typical decorum that you have when somebody passes. That said, I am curious now if the celebrities are going to have the same level of ire for those who might have been at the party. If Conan told people, no, don't call the police, are they going to be frustrated with him? Are they going to demand things from him? I don't know. I'm not even sure it's appropriate. Yeah.
Of course not, because he's part of their group.
Right, he's part of the tribe.
I mean, let's look. Trump should have taken a good chance to shut up, and he didn't. And he did that a lot. And that's Trump, and that's his personality. But the idea that he somehow made it worse, what's worse than this awful killing? I mean, it's just...
It is, as I've said, Lou...
It's Whoopi and her ilk looking for any excuse to dump on him. That's all.
And Lou, I've said this on the Patreon, I'll say it again. I can't think of a worse way to go than your own child doing it. I mean, it's just, it's just awful. And so our hearts go out, even if we disagreed vehemently. And I'm not saying we did or did not, but nobody should ever be ended that way. It's so horrifically bad. Lauren, your thoughts about the fact that we might get a trial and celebrities could be involved and it gets really yucky and awful. And what do you think about in terms of does this cause Hollywood? I know what you're already thinking. Does this cause Hollywood to have any second thoughts about their moral preening and maybe, say, maybe we shouldn't be on the high horse all the
time? No.
If you believe that, I have a bridge in Brooklyn I'd like to sell you. It's only been used by a little old lady on weekends.
Go ahead, Lord.
That never stops. I don't really have thoughts on the party or the trial or any of that stuff. I really haven't been following this closely enough to feel like I can comment on it. I would like to comment on the situation that you just mentioned, Trump's comments on the killing.
Okay. Go for it.
I think that this is one of those times when you have to have a nuanced view of things, and Trump doesn't usually present things in that way. I can totally understand Trump not liking Rob Reiner. But I think when you look at somebody who's in a public position like that, you have to have a balanced view of the person versus their views. It's like Rob Reiner was a committed liberal, and he hated Trump's policies, and he was very vocal about that. And I can understand Trump not liking that. On the other side of the coin, Rob Reiner was a brilliant and gifted filmmaker. And when it came to Charlie Kirk's murder, he actually said some good things about that and recognized that what people were saying on his side of the aisle about Charlie Kirk were not good. And Trump should have recognized that and taken the opportunity to, if not disparage the man and his family after he had been killed, at least say, look, I didn't care for his politics, but he didn't deserve to go that way. I agree with you that I think the worst thing that could happen in anybody's life is either as a parent losing your child early or as a parent yourself being eliminated by your own offspring. Those are just two awful, horrible things, and I don't think Trump helped himself at all by making those kind of comments.
Yeah, and I mean, my gosh, I mean, it just doesn't get any worse. Real life fake Santa, we need you to get in here and help us with a final word on this. Tell us your thoughts about the celebrity situation here. The fact that they're all going silent, I think, speaks to the fact that, because there was some consternation over this. People were saying in various articles, no, nothing happened at the party. You're all making this up. There was no fight. Nobody saw anything. I think the silence is starting to say, yeah, there's probably something to this.
I want to start off by saying I'm not a real lawyer. I'm a fake Santa. So I don't have any legal background in what I'm about to say. I'm glad we're talking about this. I'm glad we're addressing it the way that we are, because there's a lot of people that are, the president included, who are taking the very small amount of information that is being reported and kind of running with it. Whoopi Goldberg included there. I don't know if Whoopi was there, but again, taking small amounts of information and just going with it. We don't have all the facts yet. We don't know what the case was at this party. The fact that everybody's going silent is, well, to be expected, but we don't know how he was at this function. Maybe he was getting a little crazy or saying crazy things. We don't know if he was making bold threats of violence or to the extent that he was making those threats, if they were there. I just wish everybody handled this with a little bit more, maybe candor is the word, but like a little more like patience as well. Like this is a tragedy across the board, and it's the kind of thing that we need to be paying attention to. And I absolutely would be very passionate to find out who was there and who was involved. What were the circumstances there? Because this is Hollywood. And I know we don't hold them to the highest caliber. We kind of think that they think that they're full of themselves, but if there really was a situation here where this man was saying or threatening to do terrible things, and then they did let him off the hook, or they didn't restrain him and they did have a chance, in a kind of we should hold them accountable. But if nothing was to be held accountable for, then we should also know that as well. I hope
That's
I'm
right.
making my case there.
Yes, because Santa. Because here's the deal. Every time I report this, I cringe a little. And the reason I cringe is because of all the people in Hollywood that we report on, one of the people that I have repeatedly from multiple sources been told, Conan O'Brien is one of the nicest guys in Hollywood. Everybody wants to work for Conan. Conan's great. And so when I report on this, I think, there's a part of me that's saying, boy, I hope that this goes, I hope that he is fully vindicated as having done the right thing. And if he made a mistake, I hope it was out of like kindness, like trying to say, hey, they're having family issues, and he just didn't know. That's what I hope. But unfortunately, and sadly, I do suspect that we're probably going to see Conan on the stand in the next year being asked all kinds of questions about the party. I think there's going to be a lot of people being asked questions on the stand about the party, and it's going to turn into a circus. I really, unless this guy pleads guilty, or he pleads insanity and somehow gets let off that way, I think this is going to trial, and I think it's going to get ugly. It's going to get ugly for a lot of people. Yep.
It's just more tragedy to a tragedy.
But
That's
anything from that party is about his state of mind. And therefore, it's about the defense going for some sort of variation on what we all colloquialize as an insanity or diminished capacity. It's not about there being culpability to anybody at the party. It's about them witnessing what they witnessed that adds to the issue of what kind of state of mind he was in when he did the deed. So I think because it's famous people, this is a big story, but otherwise it's not that unusual. It really isn't.
We'll keep an eye on it.